In this presentation, we'll discuss some of the basic data manipulation facilities available in SQL. So let's begin. SQL is a data sublanguage that provides both data definition and data manipulation capabilities. For data definition, we look at such commands as create table, commands which allow us to construct objects within our database. For data manipulation, we have the select statement, which we previously looked at, as well as the insert, delete, and update statements, which allow us to add data, remove data, and change data within our database. So how do we use them? Let's take a look. First, let's familiarize yourselves with two specific tables that we'll use in our examples, an employee table and a department table. Take a moment to look over these tables as well as their data and familiarize yourselves with them before moving on. When it comes to adding or inserting data, we have an insert statement in SQL. Beginning with the keywords insert into, followed by a table name, followed by the keyword values, and then in parentheses a comma-separated list of values. When you use this statement, you must specify the table name and one value for each field that you wish to populate. The end result of this command would be the addition of one record to the table. Here's an example of how we might use the insert statement on our employee table. Here we're inserting into the employee table, or the emp table as it's called, and we're specifying four distinct values that we want for our new record. We want the employee ID to be E5, the employee name to be Stone, the department ID to be D3, and the salary to be $50,000. In the end, once we would execute this command, it would produce the table that you see here below, with one record added at the end. Notice here we did not specify column names, we just specified a comma-separated list of values. If we do this, the SQL processor will take each of the values in turn and associate them with the columns. So E5 would go in the first column, which is employee ID, and so on. If we want to be a bit more explicit, we can actually list the fields that we want to fill. In this example here, which would add the same record to the employee table, we're explicitly specifying the columns. The idea here is that by specifying the column names in parentheses in a comma-separated list after the table name, there's a one-to-one correspondence that can be made between the first column name listed here and the first value. It's a bit more explicit. Some people prefer this. I would encourage you to do this. It does make it a bit more explicit and can prevent some errors that may occur. When it comes to removing data, we have a delete statement. This allows us to remove records from a table. Remember that the truncate statement allows you to remove all of the records from a table. Delete statement allows you to be a little bit more refined. It allows you to delete one record or many records, so you have that flexibility. Delete can have a where clause to allow for selective deletion, but keep in mind that if you do not use the where clause, it will act very much as the truncate statement. In other words, without a where clause, it will delete every record in the table. The general form is shown here. We start with the keyword delete from, followed by a table name, and optionally our where condition. Here's a couple of examples which use the delete statement. Now here we're deleting from the department table. The where clauses specify which records to delete. Now for example, delete from department where dname equals research, you see the table here, which has departments D1 and D2 remaining. The bottom query, delete from department where budget equals $12 million, it looks like. We remove ultimately the development department, so we're left with one record. The where clause can find a match or it cannot find a match. If it does not find a match, nothing will be deleted. If it does find a match, it will delete every record which matches the where clause. For updating existing data, we have the update statement. Now this is only used to modify existing data. Now, as with the delete statement, you can have a where clause to allow for selective updating. If you do not have a where clause, it will update every record in the table. The general form is shown here, and notice it's a bit more wordy than some of the others. We start with the keyword update, followed by a table name, And then we have the keyword set, which specifies the fields that you want to change, or field, and the value you wish to associate with that field. The where clause allows for selective updating. Again, if you omit the where clause, it will update every record in the table based on whatever you say to set a particular field to a specific value. Here's an example of an update. Here we're updating the department table, and we're setting the budget to be 0 everywhere where the department name is research. So in this case, it updates one record to have a budget of 0. Here we omit the where clause. We say update department set budget equal to 0. When we do this, again, there's no where clause, no selective updating, so we'll apply that logic to every single record. So every department now has a budget of 0. Be careful about this, because this may not be something you want to do. When you use update, when you use delete, very often you want to use a where clause. If you forget it, you'll either delete all the records in your table or update all of the records in your table. A final word on transactions. I know you've read about transactions here and there throughout the semester. Keep in mind that inserts, updates, and deletes are modifications to the data. So they cause a transaction to be opened. On most systems, that transaction opening is often implicit. Any changes you make are temporary until you issue one of the following two statements. One is commit, which means to save any changes since the last time the data was committed. Rollback, which allows you to undo changes. Keep in mind that no one else sees your changes until a commit is done. In this sense, your changes are isolated. And remember, it's all or nothing when it comes to transactions. They're atomic, meaning if you have a group of changes inside of a transaction, all of those changes will either be committed or rolled back, depending on whether they're valid or not. We'll explore this a bit more in the future. For MySQL/MariaDB, it works a little bit different. It kind of has its own rules. With MySQL and MariaDB, you have to explicitly start a transaction in order to have everything taken as all or nothing. And again, we'll talk more about that in the future.